A very good day to you and welcome to Varna in Bulgaria, and the Palace of Culture and Sport. It's the start of the FIG World Challenge Cup season. The World Cups have concluded and new opportunity exists for the gymnasts of the world to get onto an international podium as we begin this spring of gymnastics competition that's going to take us right the way through continental championships, regional events and to the World Championships in the autumn in Jakarta. So much gymnastics to enjoy. This is one of the busiest times of the season, and the Varna World Challenge Cup is a tried and tested event, very popular and in a beautiful part of the world. The Varna necropolis is the oldest gold treasure in the world. It was right here that one of the most important archaeological finds was discovered. It goes back to the 5th millennium BC. Well, this is a place where gold can be won at any time. And there may well be famous firsts today. There may well be gymnasts who've never before achieved international success getting onto the podium. We've got some of the top names, some gymnasts that you'll recognise from the Olympiad, from the World Championships, from continental multi-sport games. We've also got some gymnasts who maybe you haven't seen for a little while. It'll be great to have them returning to international competition. And we have gymnasts who are making their first appearances today in international finals. To all of them, the very best of fortune. The finalists in the men's floor competition. Top performer in the qualification round, Kevin Penev of Bulgaria. He and his brother Eddie will be the last two gymnasts to go. We have had the withdrawal of Arel Benovic, the second highest performer in qualification, and that means that Austria's Martin Migic comes into the final as the first reserve. Good luck to him. It will be his first World Cup final. So we will begin with the men's floor competition. We'll then proceed to the women's vault. And the finalists in the women's vault competition are as follows, with the top performer in qualification, Bulgaria's own Valentina Georgieva, and she will be the last to go. Certainly based on the qualification result, she is a major favourite to win this. She's got high difficulty. She'll be the only gymnast we anticipate who will be competing a double twisting Yurchenko. Then it will be the men's pommel horse final. This one is going to be fascinating because of the gentleman who'll go last in this final, Nang Ngoc Xuyen Tien of Vietnam, who scored in qualifying 14.85, the single highest score we have seen on pommel horse internationally this year. Where did that come from, you might ask? More on him later. He's a cracking young gymnast. Then it will be the women's uneven bars final taking place. The finalists as follows, with Nola Matthews of the United States of America, the top qualifier. She'll be the penultimate gymnast to go. Good opportunity to see a Pan-American champion on the uneven bars in Matthews. And all of that will leave us not ringing in the changes, because we'll conclude as ever with the men's still rings final. Here are the contenders for the rings title. Adam Asil of Turkey. There's a surprise, the top performer in qualification. Well, you'd expect it, wouldn't you, from the 2022 champion of the world. What a privilege it will be to watch him. It's going to be a very exciting rings final. That's what we've got coming up. Hope you're looking forward to it. Hope you're having a lovely weekend wherever you're watching from, whatever time of day or night. My name's Olly Hogben, and it is my privilege to have the chance to talk you through the competition today and tomorrow. Fans of all ages gathered to enjoy the action. And I hope that you've been enjoying following the World Cups across the course of the season. As I said, this is the start of the World Challenge Cup season. And we're going to begin with the men's floor final. It really is a very global field. The finalists in the men's floor competition, and the top performer in qualification, Kevin Penev of Bulgaria, will be the last to go. And his older brother Eddie will perform before him, the fourth best in qualification. We don't have Arol Benovic, the second best qualifier. He regrettably has had to withdraw. The gymnasts of the world have arrived on the shores of the Bulgarian seaside in this beautiful setting, full of history, full of antiquity, and a place that really appreciates the arts as well. This is a city not just of gymnastics, it's a city of theatre, a city of ballet. It has a hugely well-known international ballet competition established in the 1960s. It's got other beautiful attractions, such as the fascinating Museum of Medicine. It has a puppet museum, so they really do treat their history with respect in this part of the world. From history to present and future, let's get the competition started in Varna. Let's find out who's going to get onto the podium in the men's floor final.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Argentina, Santiago Mayol. Representing Turkey, Adem Asil. Representing Germany, Timo Reder. Representing Australia, Marcus Casamento. Representing Romania, Rafael Stavo. Representing Austria, Martin Licic. Representing Bulgaria, Eddie Perez. And representing Bulgaria, David Perez.
Yes, there really is a grand chance for the Bulgarians to pick up some medals in these first two events. Men's floor followed by the women's vault. You really would expect them to contend. We're going to have, as is customary, the warm-up compete system in the split system. So we'll have 4 gymnasts going first, then there'll be a brief break for the next 4 to warm up. In the first half, Santiago Mayol of Argentina, Adem Asil of Turkey, Timo Eder of Germany, and Marcus Casamento of Australia. Those are the 3rd, 8th, 6th and 5th best performers in qualification. In the second half of the final, we'll see the 7th, 9th, 4th and top qualifier. And just to reiterate, we don't have Arol Benovic, who has had to withdraw. And as a result of that, we're bringing in Martin Migic of Austria as the first reserve. That's a special moment for him, by the way, a really special moment. First time he's been in a final. So lots to look forward to. I'm sure many of you are fully aware of this, but if you're just jumping back into the gymnastics season now, worth us bearing in mind that the code of points has led to some changes in the way that the gentlemen's performances are assessed. And the most notable thing is that on floor, 5 seconds have been removed from the maximum time. And also the number of skills has been shortened from 10 down to 8. There's also a mandatory balance that's been put in. Gymnasts are gradually becoming more accustomed to that now. And we've got in Adem Asil somebody who is capable of exceptional work on floor. His difficulty wasn't huge in qualification. A lot of gymnasts are easing their way back into the next Olympic cycle. It's tempting to think about the season, but actually it's worth thinking about the full 4-year process. And for gymnasts like Adem Asil, who competed at his second Olympic Games in Paris, he'll be building towards Los Angeles. So a lot of gymnasts are putting in not full difficulty at this stage. Let's begin. Santiago Mayol. super gymnast from Argentina, third best in qualification. He was the all-around bronze medalist at both the Pan American and South American Championships last year. Oh, very nice pike work. He did well to stabilise that landing. Ah, it's unfortunate. Just came down a fraction out of line, out of the tuck position. It's very smooth though, isn't he? Nice gymnast to watch. Lovely hold in the manner position. That was beautiful. Super balance. Looked like the screen had frozen. I think his twisting is particularly pretty. He's got very good form. Had a very high execution score in qualification. He stumbles a little coming out of the pike position to land. He wasn't fully rotated. It did have its moments though. There was some beautiful gymnastics there. Would you believe that he actually started as an association football player? Loved the sport, like the vast majority of Argentinians love association football, and they happen to be very good at it. Reigning champions of the world. But his cousin began in gymnastics and he followed him into it. He's a very important figure in Concordia de Santiago. He trains there, he's from Entre Rios in the northeast of Argentina on the border with Uruguay. And because he doesn't train in Buenos Aires, he's regarded as the leader of gymnastics in his city. And actually, they say he's the man who has made gymnastics there. He is the person who has really turned his part of Argentina into an important national centre for the sport. So he opened with front 2.5 twist. His twisting work was particularly nice. Had a triple twisting side pass as well, I believe, in there. That's where he comes out of the tuck position, leaning backwards slightly. Ah, that's lovely, that side pass. And quite a big stumble forwards. It's not going to be the number that he's hoping for, but it's very nice to watch. 12.066. Gymnastics is about beauty, and there was a lot of beauty there from Santiago Mayol.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Turkey, Adem
Now
Asil.
to one of the greats, Adem Asil of Turkey, 8th best in qualification. Certainly could fly up the standings though, his score was 13.1. The man born in Alexandria, the great Egyptian city. But he's represented Turkey now for many, many years. Oh, he also has a bit of trouble coming out of that front pike. Oh, doesn't he wrap the body beautifully into the tuck position? That's very efficient. He's somebody who is rebuilding his routines and focusing on what is to come. We just saw a glimpse of his lovely rings work there that will feature later. He's definitely somebody who's playing the long game, aiming for the Olympiad. Will do the job. Holds the final tumbling pass very nicely. Adem Asil of Turkey. Unfortunately, losing a full mark. He just loves the sport though. He's such a motivated and determined gentleman. Lovely chap as well. Again, again, as I say, we think about what is to come over the next little while with him, the build towards Los Angeles. That's going to be his focus. And certainly he's working on his competition readiness. That's where the hands went down. He had a little chat with himself as it happened. Great pike position. It's unfortunate, but the shape of it in flight is very nice. Maybe not quite as tight a pike position there, but he lands it smoothly, keeps the heels nicely together on his Wenderschwings. Still to come for him, the rings final. Just hang on a moment, they say to him, the score's not quite ready yet. He's been a medalist on floor in so many competitions, including the Mediterranean Games, the Islamic Solidarity Games. Certainly best known now internationally for his work on rings. And there is the number, 12.666. So he is into the gold medal position after two, but the first two have dropped quite considerably from qualification.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing
We go to Timo Eder of Germany, 18-year-old. Huge congratulations to him on his Olympic debut in Paris. Yet to compete at the Senior World Championships, but this young lad got the silver medal on floor at the Junior World Championships in Turkey, and that was a cracking landing to start. He was the 6th best in qualifying. Wouldn't be a shock if he gets onto the podium. This is some poised looking gymnastics. He's on course to go into the lead. Oh, unfortunately that was on the wobbly side. I don't think he particularly held it for long either. Oh, get some good height there, though. Well, lots of positives. Some issues with the balance. He's one of the generation of gymnasts, very young lot coming through, who will not at all be used to the mandatory balance requirement. Some of the older gymnasts, and we're going to be finishing with the Penev brothers, Eddie is 34. He will probably remember the days where his more senior teammates were actually training mandatory balances on floor. That was lovely. It's a very athletic display. Doesn't he get good height there? Controlled. With him, one imagines the elegance, the aesthetic quality will come even more strongly as he gets older and he gets more used to big competitions. But the fluidity of his work and the technical basis to it is great. That, unfortunately, will be a little problematic to his execution score. 12.666 is the leading number. 13.2 was his mark in qualification. Timo Eder. Whole suitcase full of potential, this young man. And it's about managing him over the next few years, getting him in the right number of competitions, pushing him, but keeping his body well looked after, managing the small injuries that are naturally a part of all elite athletes' lives. Because if they nurture this youngster, they've got a real hope for the future. 12.333, unfortunately not quite going into the lead. The execution score dropping in the second half.
Ladies and gentlemen,
now this is a lovely gymnast to watch. He's been a national champion on floor, Marcus Casamento. He really is somebody who's execution focused. You can usually shine an ultraviolet light on his gymnastics routines and you won't see anything wrong. He's beautifully precise. Oh, what a good hold there at the start. That was remarkable. It's a nice manner position as he moves through into the handstand. Super twisting, nice landing. Oh yes, beautiful. You can tell this is a young man who adores the sport. Look at the poise in that balance, good toe point. Very nice. That is very nice gymnastics from Marcus Casamento. I'm not going to shock you when I say that he really enjoys the work of Nicola Bartolini, Uchimura Kohei and Yul Moldauer. He is a scholar of gymnastics, Marcus Casamento. He likes the artists, he likes those who are clean, he likes those who are precise. I think there are a lot of people out there who also really will look to him as a role model, a lot of youngsters, and you would do very well to emulate his grace on floor. And if there was a gymnast that you would have picked out from the lineup beforehand to execute the balance position, the scale to perfection, you'd go for him, you'd put your mortgage on it. Had a moment where the arms just seemed to need a reset going into that handstand. It's probably just one of those occasions where the slow motion replay is particularly cruel. Yeah, very enjoyable that. Wonder how he's enjoying life by the Black Sea. He has thalassophobia, not a huge fan of very, very deep water. He said in an interview recently that's one of his great fears. Join the club, Marcus, me too. Good young coach, he works at Balance Gymnastics. And by the way, he's had some dreadful injury issues of late. I haven't had a chance to go into those, nor is it right to make it the dominant feature, because the dominant feature is his lovely gymnastics, but he has worked like nobody's business to overcome some very complicated injury issues. .25 was the qualification score. .13.1, he has gone into the gold medal position at the halfway stage. Very well done to him.
Representing Romania,
Rafael Szabo of Romania. 24-year-old from Timișoara. This is only his second World Cup competition. He was a reserve for the rings final in Baku in 2022. Beautiful start. Nice, elegant move into the corner as well. He's earned this chance, by the way. He was the all-around national champion of his country last year. Shame that he just overcooked that tumbling pass, went out of bounds. First use of the diagonal armed handstand, and he makes it look simple. Arabesque, decently performed. And a slight stumble coming out of the tuck position. Very positive, though, that from Rafael Szabo. He'd only competed at one World Championship. That was in Doha in 2018. As I said, he was the national champion of Romania in all-around gymnastics last year. Let's have a look back at some of this work of the 7th strongest in qualification. But with the drop of Mayol, the 3rd best qualifier, and with the absence of Aril Benovic, the 2nd best qualifier, there is real opportunity for an unexpected medalist here. He certainly is a strong front tumbler. Running double front tuck to conclude his performance. And that's where he has that very slight stumble forwards. Not hugely common. There has to be a double salto as the last tumbling pass on floor. That is a compulsory requirement. 12.733, nicely done. Little drop from qualifying. Execution much the same, but 3 penalty tenths incurred. So Casamento remains in the lead, then it's Szabo, then it's Asil. Now, wouldn't it be a story if this young man could get onto the podium? He comes in as the first reserve. It's his 5th World Cup, first time he's made a final. He discovered yesterday that he would be here. It's Martin Migic of Austria. Yes, I did think as he took off there he was going to be struggling to hold that in bounds. He'll pick up a 10th of penalty marks. Does well there, though, to keep that within the competition floor. It was nice. Very steady landing. Beautiful little cartwheel. Only imagine what has gone through his mind in the last 12 to 16 hours, discovering that he's going to be competing in the final, having wanted so desperately this opportunity, having thought he'd just missed out on it. Little compressed in that final landing, but very good from the 21-year-old from Klagenfurt. Beautiful city in the far south of Austria, by the Karawanken mountain range. Made his debut at the European Championships last year as a senior, competed at the World University Games in China the year before that, and he won the silver medal on floor at last year's Austrian Championships. But I think you saw at the end of that routine the reaction of a young man who was really content with what he'd produced, considering that he's come in as a reserve for this final. Won't lose a great deal for going out of bounds there. It's only a step out. It's not as though he put the whole body out as he landed. Lovely to see that Marcus Casamento was watching in the background and roaring him on. Great sporting spirit that you get in gymnastics. Touch on the wild side, some of the form in flight in that last tumbling pass, but he did well to hold it. And all of that has led to him falling into the second place on the leaderboard. Brilliantly done. 5 for difficulty. That's one of the most complicated routines that we've seen.
Representing Bulgaria,
But are we set up here for a Bulgarian masterclass? 2 to go, and they're both Bulgarian. Home hope time. Eddie Penev, 34-year-old, born in Sofia, gets us started. He was cracking in Cairo at the last World Cup of the season, winning silver. Oh my word, he very nearly hurtled backwards there, but he made light of it. This is a difficult routine. Beautiful. Rapid rotation of the body in the front tuck position, landing well judged. Secure Wenderschwings. Just takes his time to go into the arabesque. That should do rather well. Eddie Penev of Bulgaria in front of his home fans. The gymnast who supported his brother at the Olympic Games in Paris. He said that it was the realisation of a family dream for Kevin to be there, and that one way or the other he would be part of that journey because he trains alongside him, he helps coach him. Chose to open with the double twisting, double layout. Has that double front tuck as well, a newer addition to his portfolio of tumbling skills. This is complicated gymnastics. Difficulty score should make him a real contender for the podium. And he's been so stoic when injury issues curtailed his own hopes of going to the Olympiad. Now, what's the number going to be? 13.1 is the leading score. That's Marcus Casamento, the young Australian. Going to see a fair amount of that gentleman as we go through. More on Mr. Yovchev in due course. Much more to say about him. He deserves plenty of attention. They wait and wait and wait and wait. Well, I think we've found out before the score has come up from the crowd reaction that it's a strong number for Eddie Penev. But how good? Just waiting for the official confirmation of Eddie Penev's score.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Bulgaria, Kevin!
There we go, 13.9. Well and truly into the lead. Kevin Penev now to go. We have a Bulgarian champion. Just a question of which Penev it will be, because the only person who can surpass Eddie is his own brother. 14.1 in qualifying, the top gentleman. Yeah, that'll do, won't it? Good way to start. Oh, goodness, he's quick. Really good double front tuck with the secure landing. Nice twisting. Plenty going on. This was the most difficult routine in qualifying. Ooh, there was a little wayward there. Did well to hold it. It will cost some execution tenths, but he very much prevented what, for some gymnasts, would have been a complete fall. Set himself nicely for that balanced position. Well, that is a very good performance from Kevin Penev of Bulgaria as his brother watches on. Which of the two will it be? No surprise that this young gentleman has produced a very strong display. Interesting that he opens with the same first tumbling pass as Eddie. No great surprise considering the fact they train together, work together, coach each other, guide each other. That was where he was wayward, and it was an extraordinary save. And probably until that stage, he might have been giving a little less away on the landing deductions. But it might be that he somewhat conceded what he'd gained with that particular sideways hop. Again, I just restate that this is a complicated routine. The difficulty is high. 13.9 leads, that's Eddie Penev. Marcus Casamento of Australia in second place, 13.1. Then Martin Migic of Austria is third on 12.966. For Migic, even if he finishes slightly outside of the medals, which is likely, that's a great accomplishment considering he was the first reserve. He should be very proud of that. Bulgarians are thrilled. Kevin Penev's score is in. And the men's floor final has come to its conclusion. But which of the Penevs has taken the title in Varna in front of their home fans? Well, it's Eddie who's got it. 13.6 for Kevin Penev. And that means that Eddie is the champion, and hugely emotionally in Varna. Oh, what a special moment for those two. First and second on the podium. How lovely is that? How much does that mean to the family? Only they know, but clearly it's a huge amount. And well done as well to Marcus Casamento. Hugely well done. First time that he's been on a World Cup podium. Classified results to come, and then we'll move on to the women's vault competition. But what a lovely start to our coverage in Varna, Bulgaria. Nice variety to those performances. Some gymnasts really focusing on their elegance and cleanliness ahead of the difficulty, some really packing a lot into their routines. The classified results in the men's floor final. Bronze won by Australia's Marcus Casamento. Silver to Kevin Penev of Bulgaria, and his older brother Eddie is the champion in front of the home fans. Special mention to Martin Migic of Austria, fourth position for him. Great result. He came in as the first reserve after Awel Benovic withdrew. Let's have a look back at how the medals were won. How much it's going to mean to that young man on the left after what he has endured from an injury standpoint. Achilles surgery, back issues, stress fracture, bulging disc. I mean, my word, so many people would never have even managed to get back into training, let alone achieve their best ever international result. Naturally, their focus will be on the Penevs, and that's right, because it's the home result that they wanted to see. But we must keep Marcus Casamento very much in the foreground of our minds because of how special a moment it is for him, and what an example he sets as a young athlete, how his love for the sport has kept him going during some very difficult times. He posted a picture of himself in July of last year on social media from 2011, and it was him as a youngster with a medal, and it said, "Just a kid who loves this sport." Perhaps a reminder that he needed almost as much as anyone else of why he was doing this. Now, Varna, as I'm sure some of you know from watching both artistic and rhythmic gymnastics competitions here over the years, is the site of the National Naval Academy of Bulgaria, and that's why we always have these very distinctive medal presentations where the cadets are involved in the orchestration of the ceremony. And it's a little reminder of the very important maritime history of Varna. It's a proud moment for them as well. They love to do this. They love to be part of it. Consider it a real honour to wear their uniforms and to lead these gymnasts out onto the podium. It's considered a real badge of honour for the young cadets to be selected to be a part of the victory ceremonies at the Varna World Challenge Cup.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's invite with huge applause champions of floor exercise.
We bring you now the medal ceremony for the men's floor competition at the Varna World Challenge Cup of Artistic Gymnastics. The setting is the Palace of Culture and Sports, and we were treated to a very cultured floor final with some stylish, elegant and complicated gymnastics.
Third place and bronze medal representing Australia,
Marcus Casamento of Australia is the bronze medalist. It's been an extraordinary journey for him, and he has for the first time made his way onto a World Cup podium. Huge congratulations to the young man. And then two brothers from Bulgaria. Firstly, Kevin Penev winner of the silver medal. And his older brother, 34-year-old Eddie, is the champion. And that is a 9th World Cup medal for him, a 6th gold. He's been in really fine form this season, looked fantastic in Cairo.
Second place awards Deputy Mayor of City of Varna. And first place award, President of Local Organizing Committee, Olympic medalist and world champion, Jordan.
Naturally, Jordan Jovchev involved in the presentations, as we will have now the national anthem of Bulgaria. Lovely scenes in Varna, and the anthem they all hoped they would hear. They might hear it again. There they are, the medalists in the men's floor competition at the Varna World Challenge Cup. Well, I hope that's whet your appetite for more to come. We've got the women's vault final next. The finalists in the women's vault competition at the Varna World Challenge Cup. Top in qualification with no real surprise whatsoever, Valentina Georgieva. The Bulgarian will be the last to go, and she has, we anticipate, the highest degree of difficulty of all of the gymnasts. The second best in the preliminary stage was Zelina Kickinger of Austria. She'll be the anti-penultimate competitor. British coaches watching on with two of theirs to go, Ruby Stacey and Emily Roper. We'll begin with the veteran vaulter Tijana Korint of Croatia, who recently celebrated her 36th birthday. Good field for this final. It will be interesting to watch. And certainly, there is a real chance for folk who are not accustomed to being on World Challenge Cup podia. So here we go, the women's vault final. These are the contenders. Best of luck to them all as they embark upon the quest for a place on the podium at the Varna World Challenge Cup. Let's hand over to our in-arena Master of Ceremonies for the official introductions.
Representing Croatia, Varna. Representing Czech Republic, Dominika Polizinova. Representing Great Britain, Ruby Stacey. Representing Great Britain, Emily Kate Cooper. Representing Iceland, Mia Katrin Guttenstatter. Representing Austria, Selina Pickinger. Representing Luxembourg, Celeste Moretti. Representing Bulgaria, Valentina Georgieva.
Warm applause, particularly for Valentina Georgieva, top performer in qualification. We have representation here from Croatia, from Czechia, from the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, from Iceland, from Austria, from Luxembourg and from Bulgaria. This is the only all-European final of the day. It is in the month of the next edition of the contest, our own Gymnastics Eurovision Song Contest final coming up. Feels appropriate to mention the Eurovision Song Contest whenever you've got representation from Luxembourg, the 5 times winners. And we have Celeste Mordenti, who has been a medalist in World Cup competition. That was in Sombate of last year on the uneven bars. So let's look at how this might unfold. Tiana Corrent will start. She was the 5th best in qualifying, but absolutely a contender. Would be no shock whatsoever if she makes it onto the podium. Dominika Ponižilova of Czechia will be the next to go, the 4th best in the preliminary stage. And she is a World University Games medalist on vault, so again, be no surprise to see her contend. Then Ruby Stacey of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Now, her campaign will be a little different from most of the gymnasts because she is expected to be the gymnast with the greatest difference in difficulty between vaults number 1 and 2. She produced a Yurchenko 1.5 for a 4.6 degree of difficulty for her first vault in qualifying, and the second vault is expected to be a handspring front tuck, a 3.6. So a lot for Ruby Stacey will depend on the clarity of vault number 1, because it may well be that there is the starkest contrast in scores between her 2 vaults of any of the gymnasts performing. Emily Roper was the 8th best in qualifying. She will go 4th. And again, she's somebody who it would be no surprise to see challenge. It's about whether she can get the clarity of her second vault, the tucked full twisting Tsukahara, a little higher, a little stronger, because then she could push up into the 13s and contend. So that's the first half of the final. The top 2 qualifiers will come in the second half, but I think it's worth bearing in mind that the second best qualifier is Alina Kickinger, 13.25 average, and the 6th best qualifier, Lilia Gunnarsdottir of Iceland, 13. So only a quarter of a mark between 2nd and 6th. That means there's room for manoeuvre. We're talking about a footstep here, a stuck landing there, and it all changes. But no question that the last gymnast to go, Georgieva, difficulty-wise, has the potential to be head and shoulders above the rest. So that is the hypothetical lay of the land. Let's see the reality.
Ladies and gentlemen,
The women's vault final. Tiana Corrent, 36-year-old, will get us started. And she starts with a nice looking handspring front pike with a half twist. Now, that was a 12.75 in qualification. As I mentioned earlier, she was the 5th best. But she has absolutely the potential to move up the leaderboard. Did have a notable lack of stability on the landing. But in terms of the flight, there was a lot of cleanliness to that display. She won the title here in Varna 2 years ago. "18 times he's been a national champion. Isn't that remarkable? She's also an elite level judge. Judged at competitions like the European Youth Olympic Festival. Very rare to see somebody manage to compete internationally at the elite level and judge internationally at the elite level. It shows how much she knows and the great love for the sport that she possesses. Rest of them watching and waiting to see what this number will be. Well, that's useful. Adam Asil, who now competes for Uzbekistan, apparently scored 0. 12.866. It is better than qualification. And that is her full twisting Yurchenko vault. Now, Tiana Corrent may have pushed herself up the leaderboard. Could be a better score than qualification. Sometimes she doesn't have the most secure looking start to the vault. A little sense of wildness about the approach, but that had a very precise quality to it for the most part. That was the better vault in qualification, 12.95. She did also pick up the 2/10 bonus for having the twisting or the flipping in different directions. Certainly a good marker laid down there by the veteran Corrent, and she looks pretty pleased with the score. Hugely respected gymnast, Tiana Corrent. First international title in World Cup competition was in 2010. I've mentioned many times that she has a wonderful social conscience. She's very committed to animal welfare. She gets up at 6:30 every morning to foster or to feed the animals that she fosters. 13.299, a 13.333 for that full twisting Yurchenko. I thought that was a lot better than qualifying, better than we've seen it this season. So she's completely in the race now. Dominika Ponižilova of Czechia, 4th best in the preliminary stage. The World University Games bronze medalist on vault last year. Not last year, the year before last in Chengdu. That was her first ever international medal. So, that is a good beginning. That is a very good beginning from Dominika Ponižilova. Now that we anticipate to be the highest difficulty of her 2 vaults. The laid out full twisting Tsukahara. Only a minute landing adjustment. Competed at her 6th European Championships last year. Part of the team that made the final in 2020. We haven't seen her in a non-virtual competition since the National Championships of last year, where she won the vault title. Second vault is due to be a handspring front tuck with a half twist.
Representing Czech Republic, Dominika Konicylova, second vault.
We don't have the score, I'm afraid, for the first vault for Konicylova. But we do have a sense that she might contend for a place on the podium. Now the question is how close she can get to Corrent, because her score in qualifying was 13.15. Corrent was below that, but we've just seen Corrent move up from her own qualification display by a quarter of a mark. Indeed, it was the handspring front tuck with the half twist, the vault number 2. So apologies once again for the lack of the first vault score there. We'll try to bring that to you just as soon as we can. .299 from Tiana Corrent. That's what Konicylova is looking to beat. Now, Konicylova. She's been competing internationally for quite some time. All-around finalist at the European Games in 2019. 13.216. 13.333 was the score for the first vault. It just wasn't quite enough to go beyond Corrent.
Representing Great Britain, Ruby Stacey.
Now to Ruby Stacey. This is where we expect there to be a very difficult first vault. And indeed, the 1.5 twisting Yurchenko, that's the most difficult vault that we've seen so far. And it was performed very well. Did step out of bounds. 10th to be removed from her score for that. Also happened in qualification. She was the 3rd best qualifier. She's got a very slight sideways lilt going on as she approaches the table. I'm sure you can see there the contact point was already heading a bit in that direction, but it was a very nicely performed vault. She's Had a good spell lately, just recently won the bars title at the English Championships and the all-around silver medal and the bronze on floor. The gymnast from Tavistock in beautiful West Devon. He was a reserve for the British team at the last Olympic Games.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Great Britain, Ruby Stacey. Second vault.
Well, again, we don't have the score, I'm afraid, for the first vault. And that was nice and secure. Handspring front tuck. So similar to what we just saw from Dominika Ponizhilova, just doesn't have that half twist of the body, meaning that Stacey lands facing away from the vaulting table rather than moving the body back round to face towards it, but very clean. Very symmetrical, tiny landing adjustment. Should score well. She's just been named in the British European Championship squad. Now, Ruby Stacey certainly seems pleased with the number that she's got. Hopefully we'll find out what it is at some point. First vault in qualifying was 13.45. Second vault was 12.5 in qualification. Moment now, I'm sure we're going to see a score. And that is why she's so pleased. 13.333. Ruby Stacey into the gold medal position. Jumps up by close to 2/10 from qualification. Emily Roper of Great Britain, 8th best in qualifying. The 19-year-old from Ipswich. Starts with a well-performed full twisting Yurchenko vault. So that, as I'm sure many of you know, 4/10 down in the difficulty from Ruby Stacey because it doesn't have that extra half twist. Vault champion at the Northern European Championships of last year, representing Wales, and then the year before that, or 2 years before that, she was the silver medalist representing England. So again, I'm afraid we can't bring you that first vault score. We'll wrap it all up once the second vault has been performed. We anticipate the second vault will be a tucked full twisting Tsukahara. 3.8 difficulty score. She's still very new to World Cup competition, Emily Roper. Competed in Cottbus at the start of the year.
Representing Great Britain, Emily Kate Roper, second vault.
She's had to wait quite a long time to perform this second vault. But worth waiting for. Indeed, the tucked full twisting Tsukahara. One of the Kim family of skills. So she scored 12.8 as the overall qualification score. It may well be that there is an advancement in terms of that second vault. Looked very nice in the air. Crisp, clean form. Still waiting to go in the second half, Valentina Georgieva. She'll be the last to perform. Warm-ups well and truly in progress now for the second half. That's Zelina Kickinger, the second best in qualification. But everything really has been changed by these first three performers. So far, we've seen every gymnast improve upon their qualification display, and that's made for a really compelling women's vault final. Great to have representation from Iceland as well in this final. .083 improvement on both vaults from qualification, particularly a gain of almost 4/10 for the full twisting Yurchenko. So really well done there, Emily Roper. And that means that of the first four gymnasts, every single one of them has surpassed their qualification performance. That's exactly what you want in a final. And it means there's a very real prospect that we've seen at least one medalist already. So in the second half, we've got the young gymnast from Iceland, Lilja Gunnarsdóttir, to perform first. She was the 6th best qualifier, and she has just recently won the national title on vault. We'll then see Zelina Kickinger, 2nd best in qualifying. Definitely a contender based on the clarity of her work in the preliminary round. Celeste Mordenti of Luxembourg will be the penultimate gymnast to go. She was the 7th best in qualifying, but if her full twisting Yurchenko is more securely executed than in the preliminary stage, she too could be a medalist. And then we finish with Valentina Georgieva, and if she hits her double twisting Yurchenko, then it could almost sign, seal and deliver the gold medal to her. She did have a few issues with it in qualification, 3/10 of penalty mark. She also had a single 10th taken away for the second vault, so 4/10 of penalties for going outside of the tram lines in the preliminary round. If she removes those, then she's well and truly ahead of the rest of the pack. Again, all hypotheticals. And of course, it's about what really happens now as we go into the second half of the final. Lilja Gunnarsdóttir of Iceland, 6th best in qualification. Congratulations to this young gymnast who recently became the champion of her country on vault. She also won the all-around title at the Iceland Classic at the start of the year. Little sideways hop on the full twisting Yurchenko, but a very nice performance. First time that she's ever participated in a World Cup event. How well she's done to make this final. Lots of potential. It's been really exciting to see some of the development in Icelandic gymnastics over the last couple of years. There are a lot of great gymnasts in Iceland. Many of them go into team gym, which is not hugely well known on the global scene. It's very well known in Europe, and Iceland is one of the best nations in the whole of Europe at team gym. They are perennial medalists. So there is a strong gymnastics culture in the country. Beautiful part of the world as well. You must find a way to get to Iceland at some point in your life if you can. You won't regret it. It's exquisite. Even if you don't manage to see the Northern Lights, there's so much to see there. Oh, that's unfortunate. Just has an awkward bounce coming out of that handspring front tuck. Oh dear. That looked a really painful landing for Lilja Gunnarsdóttir. Oh, you can see it straight away. She's obviously feeling that. Oh, it's the knee, isn't it? It really hits hard on that right knee. Almost a little locked looking. Well, I can tell you that treatment now is taking place for Lilja Gunnarsdóttir, and obviously we're not going to show you that because it's a moment that the athlete and coach and medical staff need to have as something private. And we hope that all is well. It was really not pleasant looking landing. We just remind ourselves, this is a very young gymnast. She's only 16, Gunnarsdóttir. First ever World Cup final. What we hope is that it was just an unpleasant landing and one that caused a bit of initial pain, but there's nothing more than that. That's what the medical team will now assess.
Representing
Well done
Austria,
to the medical staff on quick assessment there. 12.349 is the score. Great young gymnast. It's going to be exciting seeing how she develops. To Zelina Kickinger of Austria, second best in qualification. Yes, that was very good. Was actually indicating on the board 1.5 twisting Yurchenko vault. But opted to do as she did in qualification. Well performed. Did wonder if we were going to see a extra half twist to what is commonly a full twisting Yurchenko, just because of the indication given on the vault scoreboard that it was a 4.33 vault. And that is, as I'm sure many of you know, taken from the code of points. Every vault is assigned a number. And if you are a certain type of gymnastics fan, you like to try to learn those numbers. It's great fun playing a vault identification bingo from the code of points. Handspring front pike half is the indicated second vault. Got a contending display here, potentially, from Zelina Kickinger. So that was indeed the handspring front pike with a half twist. Little delayed loss of stabilisation on the landing. 13.25 in qualification for Kickinger. Gets quite a good amount of travel. She moves a fair distance away from the table. A 23-year-old gymnast from Innsbruck who was a finalist in the all-around competition at the last European Championships. Very proud moment for her. She won her first World Cup honours at the Osijek World Cup earlier this year. Bronze on floor. She also made the vault final, so we're getting much more used to seeing her in these sorts of competitions. 2 still to go. The experienced young gymnast from Luxembourg, Celeste Mordenti, will be next. Leading the way, as things stand, it's Ruby Stacey of Great Britain, 13.333. Then we have Tiana Corrent, and that's a 13.2 for Zelina Kickinger, and that means that she drops in just behind Dominika Ponizilova on 13.216 into 4th place.
Representing Luxembourg, Celeste Mordenti.
Now to Celeste Mordenti of Luxembourg, who has been the gold medalist on vault at the Dutch Championships. That was last year. She trains in Amsterdam, attends university study there. She begins well, quite a hop back on the full twisting Yurchenko landing. This is a gymnast who I don't think enough can be said about in terms of how much she has developed over the last 4 or 5 years. It's remarkable, absolutely remarkable. She hasn't just got better, she has transformed. It's no surprise when you consider how much she loves the sport and how hard she works at it and how determined she is. But nonetheless, sometimes that doesn't translate to actually being able to make the improvements you want to make. For her, it has done. She got real amplitude as well in her full twisting Yurchenko. She recently defended her all-around title at the Luxembourg Open.
Representing Luxembourg, Celeste Rodenti, second vault.
Now, handspring front pike is what we anticipate here. So, almost identical to the second vault from Kickinger, but without the half twist of the body at the end. And she does hop out of bounds with both feet. However, it was very good in the air once more from the 22-year-old. So we look again at Celeste Mordenti. Nice pike position, quite tight in terms of how she gets the legs into the body. That's really important in the pike. Just a little sideways as she lands, lilting to the left, hence hopping out of bounds. But that's a very good display from Mordenti. 12.975 in qualification. It's a 13.216 that currently holds bronze. I said earlier, you have to admire just how she has developed as a gymnast. Very exciting to see. How special when she won that medal in Sombate last year. 13.033, so no change to the podium, but we anticipate it might happen now. The last gymnast to go is Bulgaria's own Valentina Georgieva. 13.55 in qualification, the best score, and that would take her into gold and guarantee her the title. Here's the signature vault. Oh dear, oh dear. I mean, she really is becoming so accomplished. And she picked up 3/10 of penalty marks in qualification. No such issue there. She is becoming so dependable on this apparatus. Good straight body position as she twists around. .65 in qualification. One anticipates that it will be a far stronger number on this occasion.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Bulgaria, Valentina Georgieva. Second vault.
Vault number 2 coming up. This we also anticipate to be a very high degree of difficulty. Indication is the layout Sukahara with 1.5 twists. Oh! Oh, goodness. Just hope that she's all right. It looked ever so strong in the warm-up process. Well, first and foremost, one just wishes that there are no lingering issues here for Valentina Georgieva. She was quite some way away from completing the landing. Quite wisely just waiting where she is to receive treatment. To remember that big competitions are coming up. The European Championships are at the end of this month. So the gymnasts here particularly will be wanting to leave nothing to chance. If they do suspect there's any form of injury, they'll not wish to compete and risk things further. That's why we had a withdrawal from the men's floor final. There is concern here for young Valentina Georgieva, who had a really uncomfortable landing. I'm sure many of you remember all too vividly the European Championships of 2022, where she had just the most dreadful injury. And that was on the first vault, the double twisting Yurchenko. So we'll resume the competition and the coverage just as soon as Valentina Georgieva has been attended to. And, just to return it to matters of competition, Ruby Stacey is currently the leading gymnast. Well, there we have confirmation, 13.299 for Georgieva. So that is still one of the top scores, even considering the fact that she loses a full mark for the issue with the second vault because of the enormous difficulty. But it is Ruby Stacey who has managed to take the title, the British gymnast, winning her first gold medal in World Cup competition. We'll bring you the classified results in just a moment. Well, if you are just joining the coverage now, I'm letting you know that Valentina Georgieva of Bulgaria was in some evident discomfort after the conclusion of her second vault. She's being attended to, and that is delaying the ceremony, which is due to take place. We'll resume the action just as soon as we can. The priority right now is making sure that Valentina Georgieva is okay, is properly attended to, that treatment is not rushed, and we'll update you as soon as we're able to do so on how that is going. But I ask for your patience, and I'm really grateful to you for it as we wait for the competition to resume in Varna at the World Challenge Cup of Artistic Gymnastics. ceremony will be along shortly. And after that, we'll resume our coverage with the men's pommel horse competition. Well, it is very encouraging to see her in that condition, that she is walking without assistance away from the competition floor. Time was taken to really make sure that she was able to do that. And that's something that's been really pleasing to see this season in gymnastics. We're getting fewer examples of gymnasts being lifted and carried off the field of play by a coach, which frankly shouldn't happen. Now medical staff are attending to them. They're staying in position for longer. And I think these protocols are the right thing, because a gymnast should never be moved. No athlete should ever be moved or should ever move before there's been the chance for an assessment to be performed. That's the opening vault from Georgieva, the double twisting Yurchenko, the most difficult vault of the competition. And the second most difficult vault of the competition was her second vault. So that's evidence of just how it was she accumulated such a high score despite taking a full mark of deduction for not securing the landing. And what a performance from Ruby Stacey. Great result for the British gymnast. The classified results in the women's vault competition, and the gold medal won by Ruby Stacey of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, with Valentina Georgieva of Bulgaria finishing second and taking silver, and Croatia's Tijana Korint winning the bronze medal. The same score for those two gymnasts, 13.299, but Georgieva winning the tie-break criteria. Very high scoring first vault from her. And we'll bring you the victory ceremony in just a moment or two.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's invite the huge applause champion
It's time for the victory ceremony in the women's vault competition at the Varna World Challenge Cup.
Third place, the bronze medal, representing Croatia,
Tiana Korent of Croatia, the winner of the bronze medal, the 36-year-old, once again on a World Cup podium.
Representing Bulgaria,
Valentina Georgieva of Bulgaria managing to take the silver medal despite issues with her second vault. We hope that she's okay. And huge congratulations to Great Britain's Ruby Stacey, the 20-year-old taking her first ever World Cup gold medal. She improved significantly from qualification. This for a gymnast who's in really good spirits at the moment and really good form. She's just been named to the European Championship squad for her country, and she has just won the uneven bars title at the National Championships of England. How joyous it is to see that reaction from Tiana Korent, a gymnast who won her first World Cup honours 15 years ago. The embodiment of longevity. You can only imagine how someone like Ruby Stacey feels when she looks at a gymnast like Tiana Korent and the example that she sets to all of us. And we'll now have the national anthem of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
National anthem of Great Britain. Huge applause for the champions and march out.
And there they are, the medalists in the women's vault competition at the Varna World Challenge Cup of Artistic Gymnastics. A veteran and two youngsters on the podium. Great to see this ever common, ever increasingly more prevalent degree of diversity in this wonderful sport, where careers go on longer, so much longer than they used to. And our competition goes on with the men's pommel horse final coming up. Men's pommel horse final. The top performer in qualification will be the last to go, Nang Ngoc Xuyen Tien of Vietnam. He was electric in the preliminary round with a score of 14.85. Yes, you heard that right, 14.85, the highest international pommel horse score of the year. It's time for the men's pommel horse final at the Varna World Challenge Cup of Artistic Gymnastics. Here are your runners and riders, and we're going to hand over to the presentation team in the arena for the official introductions for what is set up to be a really compelling contest. In qualifying, Nang Nok Swen Tien was absolutely phenomenal. Can he now do it when the chips are down in the final? Can he produce something even close to that phenomenal score in the preliminary stage? We'll be guessing right up until the end because he's the last to go.
Representing Uzbekistan, representing Uzbekistan, representing Taiwan, representing Bulgaria, representing Cyprus, Giorgio, representing Bulgaria, representing Vietnam,
Warm-up is about to begin and we are set for entertainment in the men's pommel horse final. Thank you so much for your company wherever in the world you are watching from. I know there are so many of you watching from well outside of Europe at probably not enormously sociable times of the day or night, and your extra dutiful diligence is much appreciated. It's a really busy time, isn't it, for gymnastics? Lots going on all over the world. National competitions, regional events, continental championships are on the horizon. We're starting to increase the pace, building towards Jakarta, the first time ever that the Artistic Gymnastics World Championships have been held in that part of the world. That's going to be so exciting. Now let's look at the more immediate future and this men's pommel horse final. In the first half, we have Zenola Idrisov of Kazakhstan, 5th best in qualification, perennial finalist this season, and the bronze medalist at the Junior World Championships 2 years ago. He's going on the right path, definitely. Very impressive young man. Abdullah Azimov, the first of 2 from Uzbekistan. He was the 8th best in qualifying and is a veteran on this apparatus, won a silver medal at the Asian Games in 2014. Then we'll have Habibullo Ergashiev, his teammate, who is 1 place above him in qualifying, but with the same score. They were just separated by the higher execution numbers for Ergashiev. And he is another gentleman with enormous experience. The 2 of them, Azimov and Ergashiev, competed at the Olympic Games. They both made their debut in Paris. Very special that for the Uzbekistan squad. They had 3 gymnasts qualifying as individuals. And then the last gymnast in the first half will be Li Chi from Chinese Taipei. 3rd best in the preliminary stage. The reigning 3-time consecutive World Universities champion. Olympic silver medalist from Tokyo. Great to see him back in international competition. He's one of the most impressive entertainers on this apparatus. It is time to begin the men's pommel horse final.
Representing Kazakhstan, Zenola Idrisov.
Zenola Idrisov of Kazakhstan. The scoring qualification for the Junior World Championship bronze medalist 2 years ago. Body position is neat and straight. Shevado well performed. Is looking tidy to open. And potentially medal contending if it continues thus. Good sense of swing, lovely pirouette to conclude. Nice opening. Well done to Zenola Idrisov. This is the gymnast who won the bronze medal in Baku. He won the silver at the World Cup in Antalya in Turkey. He's been very busy on the international stage as a relatively new senior. There's a lot of precision to his work. He will, as time goes on, get even more difficulty. Qualification was a 5.6. .233, that was better than qualification. Really nicely done. He's gained about a quarter of a mark. Put himself into contention potentially. Abdullah Azimov of Uzbekistan, 8th best in the preliminary stage with a score of 13.9. 29, an Olympic debutant in Paris. He's been a reserve for the World Championships on the pommel horse. What a smooth display. Heels are beautifully glued together. Just got to make sure he keeps getting clearance. He's a little close at times to the apparatus. But, oh, he had a bit of an arch at the back going into the dismount. He does get through it all. A lot of strong work from Abdullah Azimov. It will be interesting to see what the execution number looks like there. He's already got full colours in World Cup competition. Had a momentary reset going up into that handstand. Very important that there's continuous movement up into handstand. But the body position is very secure looking. For the most part, he doesn't have much of a midsection bend. There was just momentarily a sense of an overarch as he dismounted. He wasn't fully happy. 13.8. Execution of 8.4, so he drops into second place behind Idrisov. Second gymnast from Uzbekistan. Habibullo Ergashiev from Fergana in the far east of Uzbekistan, near the border with Tajikistan. 41st in the all-around competition at the last Olympic Games. He was the 7th best in qualification. Another who is quite close to the apparatus, and there's always a danger there that the gymnast might connect with it, but he's done well to hold on to that. Not the tidiest conclusion to the routine. He's done a couple of competitions since the Olympic Games. Went to Stuttgart to the DTB Pokal, the Luxembourg Open as well. Did win a silver medal on pommel horse at the latter. But his scores have been coming along quite nicely as the season has developed. Naturally, he's getting much better numbers here than in Luxembourg as he gets back into international competition. Eight and a half was the execution score in qualifying. .233 leading at the moment, that's in Olly Idrisov. Very much his apparatus, this, but he has been a useful part of his team, winning a silver medal at the Asian Championships last year. Certainly best known for his work on the pommel horse, though. The score is 12.3. Difficulty is a long way down from qualification. To Li Chikai from Chinese Taipei. Third best in qualifying with a score of 14.1. The Olympic silver medalist from Tokyo. Great to see him back in international competition after having a very difficult time trying to get to Paris in one of the most competitive routes. The men's pommel horse field was full of quality. He's got good clearance to begin, loses the leg form, completely loses it. How on earth has he kept his swing going? I mean, he was almost cross-legged at one point there. It's remarkable. Now into those big flares that have characterized his work for years and years and years. Yes, that is a joy. Just go on for days. He'll have to stop at some point to do that dismount. Oh, yes! That is gorgeous gymnastics from Li Chikai. But I know the flares and the conclusion will be what we remember, but it's the start where the leg form goes and he actually keeps the kineticism. That's extraordinary. Because sometimes gymnastics is about what you save, not what you lose. This bit's majestic. It always is with him. But it was earlier on when he lost completely the leg position and it seemed in no way to impede his swing. And yes, he will lose quite a lot of execution marks for it. But what about that for a whirling dismount? He's just fun, isn't he? He's so exciting to watch. .29 now, the young man who started performing gymnastics moves to attract customers to his parents' market stall as a child. It's a well-known story, but it's always worth retelling it. That's how he got his nickname of Market Kai. His life has changed a bit over the last few years. Son Kai-sun was born in 2022. Such a household name in Chinese Taipei, Li Chikai. He's been featured in lots of films and documentaries. Just a beautiful gymnast to watch in terms of his overall style. He's one who's on the way back to being fully competition ready. Can't be expected here. 13.433, so he does, as expected, lose quite a lot of execution, and the leg form issues there early on in the routine will be at the heart of it. But what's interesting is his difficulty was up by 0.4 to a 5.8. So it means at the halfway stage, Idrisov is in the lead. He is the gentleman that everyone's been talking about. I cannot state strongly enough the discussion that's been going on social media about the Vietnamese athlete Nang Ngoc Xuyen Tien, who produced a score of 14.85 in qualification, the best in the world this year. So we could be in for something really fantastic at the end of this pommel horse final. Here's who we still have to come. David Ivanov, great young Bulgarian gymnast based in the United Kingdom. Really good to watch. I think you'll enjoy him if you haven't seen him before. He's an up-and-comer. Then Marios Ioriu of Cyprus. Another Bulgarian, Rayan Radkov. And then Nang from Vietnam to conclude. This is David Ivanov of Bulgaria. 17-year-old, born in this country but lives in Great Britain, trains at the Great South Essex Club. The club of the likes of Max Whitlock. Lovely handstand into the scissors, very nice. Got good toe point as he performs that. He's got some quality, hasn't he? Smooth, good swing, and just had a bit of an issue at the conclusion. Nearly. So he will go back onto the apparatus. There we go, that's what he was aiming. Just couldn't quite get that move into the flares. And now he's into those flares. They are stunning. Some of the best flares out there. Oh, again, some problems, this time right at the very end of the routine. So it was at the conclusion of the transition into the flare work where the first problem came, and at the conclusion of the routine at large, the second. Nonetheless, look at the raw elements of what he does. This is a great young athlete. And he's still learning. I mean, every athlete is still learning, obviously, but at 17, he's really in the embryonic stages of his senior career. How good are those flares? And he's got wonderful toe point. It's a small detail, but the ballet dancer's feet, as he performs a lot of his gymnastics, marks him out as a rather detailed and stylish youngster. Won't be the number that he was hoping for. He was the 6th best in qualifying with 14. It's 12.666 here, but as I say, one to watch, no question.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Cyprus, Marios Georgiou.
What a privilege to have the reigning European all-around champion, Marios Georgiou of Cyprus. He is somebody, again, who has talked quite openly about using these competitions to get back to competition readiness. He's not quite there yet, but he did manage to get a silver medal on the horizontal bar in Egypt at the most recent World Cup. His body position is looking pretty straight. Small amount of midsection piking, but not much. It's going through the Shivado Magyar sequence back into the Shivado. He's a little wild, oh my goodness, as I was about to say, a little wild in the dismount and completely came to pieces. Well, fortunately he's up and he looks all right. Oh, that was a nervy moment. It was very slightly laboured going up into that first handstand. You could see it in the arms. And I thought that he might get the full way through that dismount. But it was just at the very end that completely lost his position. Again, I go back to what he said in Cairo, that this is a staging post for him. What he's focused on is the European Championships coming later this month and focused on the World Championships later in the year. So he's come here with the expectation that these sorts of things will happen. .12.1, he was the fourth best in qualifying. It means that with 2 to go, the leader is Zenola Idrisov, so he's guaranteed a place on the podium. To Ryan Radkov of Bulgaria, 20 from the capital city of Sofia, but he considers Toronto and this city, Varna, as his homes as well. Runner-up at the National Championships last year. Very good gymnast, he was second in qualification. Not the tidiest form, slight loss of swingfulness. But he's doing very well to keep this going. This is hard work, but very accomplished gymnastics being demonstrated. Very good dismount as well. That was a cracking effort from Ryan Radkov. Most impressive. That showed real fight. There were a couple of moments early on there, for example, where he just seemed to be in danger of losing the kinetic energy. But what physical strength and what almost muscle memory he displayed. And actually, as the routine went on, it got better and better, building to a really impressive conclusion. Clicked the heels nicely in that dismount. .233 leading as things stand. 13.8 second. He scores 13.6, Ryan Radkov. That has him in the bronze medal position, but with this gentleman to go. Nang Ngoc Xuyen Tien of Vietnam, the 22-year-old from Ho Chi Minh City, the reigning two-time Southeast Asian Games pommel horse champion, and the gymnast who produced the best score in the world this year on this apparatus in qualifying, 14.85. Hold on to your hats. Let's see what he can do now in the final. Gosh, he's got good clearance. Lovely Wenderschwings in the centre of the apparatus. Pretty as a picture. Magyar Shivado combination, he's lost the legs and somehow kept the swing going. You must be joking. And then he has to reset going into that dismount. Oh, nearly, so nearly. I have no idea how he stayed on the horse. Gosh, there is beauty to this young man's gymnastics. Very elegant, but strong as an ox as well. It's not going to be the sort of number that we saw in qualifying, but we have got to watch him very closely over the rest of the season. He's a very interesting character. When he won the Southeast Asian Games gold medal, there was that momentary reset going into the dismount, and he stumbles quite a bit landing. But when he got that gold medal at the Southeast Asian Games, he jumped up and down with joy, but then he said that he'd been so much more stressed because of the scores of his other teammates when they hadn't got into finals. He felt this weight of expectation, and he has managed to take it anyway with 14.266. A lot of pressure has been on his shoulders. He's so marked out as a great young prospect in his country and in the whole of the southeast of Asia. I go back to one of my oft-cited axioms in gymnastics, that what you save is as worthy of discussion as what you lose. He stayed on despite a break in his form. He kept going. He managed to keep the kinetic energy. And that is what has propelled him to a performance that, although not close to the qualification score, was still extremely good. Classified results on their way. Let's have a look back at the best of the action. The classified results in the men's pommel horse competition. The winner of the bronze medal Abdullah Azimov of Uzbekistan taking second place in silvers in Olly Idrisov of Kazakhstan. And the champion from Vietnam is Nang Ngoc Xuyen Tien, winning it by hundreds over Olly Idrisov. Huge congratulations to the 22-year-old from Ho Chi Minh City. And we'll bring you the victory ceremony in just a moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's invite with huge applause champions on buckle horse.
The victory ceremony for the men's pommel horse competition.
Third place and bronze medal, representing Uzbekistan, Abdullah Azimov.
Abdullah Azimov of Uzbekistan, the winner of the bronze medal.
Representing Kazakhstan,
From Kazakhstan's Olly Idrisov takes silver. What a season he's having.
First place and gold medal, representing Vietnam,
And the champion is Nang Ngoc Xuyen Tien of Vietnam, the reigning two-time Southeast Asian Games pommel horse champion. We have got to keep a very close eye on him, although I think it's going to be hard to take your eyes off him, frankly. So good is his potential, so impressive his display here, even though it was not quite as complete a performance as the qualification process, where he scored 14.85. He's managed to pick up his first World Cup title. And what's going to be important for him now is doing this more often, getting out there onto the World Cup circuit, travelling all over the globe and contending for international honours. Because he's spoken of the stress that big competitions have made him feel. He's still managed to win things, just like here, with the stress of big competitions. He's very score-focused. He wants the number more than he wants the medal. And doubtless he'll have things that he'll go away and work on to get it back to where it was in qualifying. But I hope he takes a moment to realise how big an accomplishment this is, because the anthem is about to be played in his honour. We hear the song of the marching troops, the national anthem of Vietnam, played in honour of that gentleman in the middle. There they are, the medalists in the men's pommel horse competition. We have the women's uneven bars final next. The finalists in the women's uneven bars competition, and the top performer in qualification, the USA's Nola Matthews, with a score of 13.3. But just behind her, Emily Roper of Great Britain, 13.2. Let's have a look at the finalists.
Representing Turkey, Seren Pinar. Representing Great Britain, Emily Kate Rupert. Representing Great Britain, Ruby Stacy. Representing Austria, Selina Kickinger. Representing Norway, Emily Deline. Representing Luxembourg, Celeste Morganti. Representing USA, Nola Matthew. Representing Bulgaria, Nicole Stoimenova.
She's spoken of how excited she is to compete in front of her home fans. Nicole Stoimenova of Bulgaria, who'll be the last to go in this women's uneven bars final. Now, the lay of the land here is very interesting because two gymnasts were well above the rest of the pack in qualifying. One of them, Nola Matthews of the USA, will be the second to last to go. She scored 13.3. Then Emily Roper scored 13.2. She'll be the second to go. After that, we dropped down by about 3/4 of a mark to the third best qualifier, and that's Celeste Mordenti of Luxembourg, 12.55. Then, frankly, it's anybody's guess because there's quite a lot of compression between those gymnasts in the chasing pack and the sorts of scores that we saw in qualifying. If either Matthews or Roper has a significant drop in their score compared to the preliminary round, then we're going to be thrown into complete uncertainty as to the destination of the medals. So this should be very interesting indeed. Once we've got the apparatus sorted. Well, just as soon as the bars are being prepared for competition, we will get the final started. Still to come after this, we have got the final in the men's rings competition. That will be the last event to bring you in our coverage today. And then tomorrow, the women will take to the beam and the floor, and the men will perform on vault, parallel bars and horizontal bar, as is the traditional order of these FIG World Cup events. This is the start of the World Challenge Cup series. We've already had the 6 World Cup events in Cottbus, Baku, Antalya, Osijek, Doha and Cairo. But this begins an exciting sequence of World Challenge Cup events. Koper is the next one, taking place in Slovenia. Then it will be Tashkent. That's in June, 18th to the 21st of June. Koper is the 15th to the 18th of May. And then closer to the World Championships, we have the ever-popular Paris World Challenge Cup. One of the most flamboyant and exciting in terms of the arena presentation. And Szombathely in Hungary, which is the traditional final World Challenge Cup event. Now we can get these warm-ups underway. The first gymnast to perform in the women's uneven bars final will be Ceren Bines of Turkey, 4th best in qualification. Then we'll have Emily Roper, who, as I mentioned earlier, was the 2nd best. Ruby Stacey, 6th best. And we've got to watch out for Stacey carefully, because her execution score in qualifying was 6.8, her difficulty 5.3. So if Stacey can deliver a more secure performance, she goes from being 6th place to a contender to win the whole thing. Zelina Kickinger will be the last to go in the first half of the final. We also must consider very strongly Celeste Mordenti. She qualified for the final with the second lowest execution score. My maths were failing me there. But a high difficulty. She actually had the highest difficulty of anyone, the gymnast from Luxembourg. Lots to think about then as we go into this uneven bars final. And it's a young final. All of the gymnasts competing, born well after the turn of the millennium. The oldest is Zelina Kickinger at 23. Hope you're enjoying all of the action so far. Thank you for your company at the Varna World Challenge Cup in Bulgaria. The largest city on the Bulgarian Black Sea coast. Amazing history of about 3 millennia, and it's right in the east of the country. The name Varna is likely to have origins in the idea of a fortified place or a defended place, because the word Varn means shield or defence. It's one of the possibilities. Could also be that it takes its roots in the Proto-Slavic Varn or black, possibly even for the Iranian for camp or fortress. There's lots of interesting possibilities for how it is that we arrived at the name Varna. But its name was already well and truly established by the late 10th century, so that gives you an idea of the history of the place. And the Varna culture itself, very ancient culture, goes back to about 4,500 BCE, and that's where we have acquired the extraordinary collection of gold artifacts, the oldest in the world, from around that sort of time. They were found in the Varna necropolis, and they're actually still on display in the archaeological museum of the city. And it was one of those fascinating things where it was just accidentally found in 1972. Amazing the things that one stumbles across. To this women's uneven bars final.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Turkey, Ceren Biner.
We begin with Ceren Biner of Turkey, 20-year-old who was fourth best in qualification with 12.45. Maloney transition to begin into a pack salto. Van Leven. A little shy of the handstand position. Now she'll go into the straddle Jaeger somersault, build the swingfulness back up with good effort, keeping the heels together nicely and dismounting securely. Not a hugely complicated dismount, but well performed. Her difficulty score was the second lowest of all of the qualifiers. She has been the national champion on the Apparatus. Lovely to see her back. Last time we got the chance to enjoy her work internationally was when she won a bronze medal on vault at the Mersin World Challenge Cup in 2023. But I'm sure many of you remember she has actually been a European Championship finalist. That was on vault in her home championships in 2023, where she was 6th. Amazingly, it was her first ever senior international final. Really attacked the straddle position in the Jaeger somersault. Handstands were certainly an issue in terms of the extent to which she fully hit that position, rather than being a little diagonal. The lack of complexity of the dismount is a bit of an issue. But nonetheless, the score is 12.633. And that is an improvement of almost 2/10 from qualification. Could well be a medal contender with that performance.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Great Britain, Emily Roper.
Emily Roper of Great Britain, second best in qualification. This was a very good performance from the gymnast who is the national champion on the uneven bars. She also uses the Maloney and the pack salto, and regrettably comes off the Apparatus. Nice start as well. Might have been a bit of a painful jolt as she went down to ground. And she does use the Van Leven exactly as Ceren Biner did. Sets herself up for a good straddle Jaeger somersault. Keeps the swing going nicely too. And a much more complicated dismount, very good dismount as well. Lots of nice gymnastics in that display from Emily Roper. A gymnast that we anticipate seeing a lot more of on the international stage. Great accomplishment winning the uneven bars title at the British Championships, where she also was the all-around bronze medalist. part of the next generation coming through in the British team. .1. So it is for Roper a drop of just over a full mark from the preliminary round. Waiting to get started is Ruby Stacey, who already has won a World Cup gold medal today, the champion on vault. As I mentioned earlier, there's no doubt that she has contending capacity, even though she was the 6th best qualifier. We've just had the British champion on the uneven bar. She's the English champion. Ruby Stacey of Great Britain, 6th best in qualifying with 12.1, but a 5.3 difficulty and a 6.8 for execution. So plenty of potential to move up the standings. She first won a medal on this apparatus in World Cup competition in Slovenia in 2022. Ruby Stacey, who's already been a champion today on vault, taking to the bars. Kachev mixed grip to Ezheva, lovely. And then the Stolda Shaposhnikova to the Pak Salto. Uses the Van Leuven, and Maloney with the half twist of the body. And that's a very good dismount, well performed from Ruby Stacey of Great Britain. The gymnast who is becoming a more and more high-profile member of the British team for obvious reasons. Goes really nicely up into handstand at the start. Big attack of the Kachev into the Ezheva. Very good opening. Stolda Shaposhnikova, one of the less common of the Shaposhnikova variations. We tend not to see it as much as the varieties where the gymnast has their toes on the low bar. We certainly see, probably even less frequently, the original Shaposhnikova with the hips in line with the bar. And she really did land that well. 12.1 in qualification. 13.033 in the final. A big jump up for Ruby Stacey. She gains almost a full mark. Well, I did say that there was no doubt she was a contender if the execution could be stronger because of that high degree of difficulty. And we've seen it. She's in the gold medal position after the first three.
Representing Austria, Selina Kickinger.
Austria's Selina Kickinger, the 5th best gymnast in the qualification phase. Maloney from her, back salto with perhaps a slight loss of form. Leuven up quite nicely into the handstand position, moving into the Jaeger straddle position. And she dismounts with authority. 12.4 in the preliminary round. Difficulty score we would expect to come in a fair way away from the likes of Stacey. So it will all really come down to how the judges perceive this to be performed in terms of its quality of execution. Just looked very sure of herself from start to finish, didn't she? But she has looked sure of herself for a long time, and she should look sure of herself because she's made such a great development. She's become a top 20 gymnast in European all-around competition. She's overcome a lot of injuries in her career, but has spoken about how she feels so much fitter and stronger than she used to feel. She's a very good swimmer as well, Selina Kickinger, and it's well known how great that can be for overall fitness and conditioning. 12.433 is virtually the same as qualification. Nice consistent work from the Austrian. Warm-ups for the second half in progress. Nola Matthews of the USA, top qualifier, will be the penultimate performer. So we have in the second half the young gymnast from Norway, Amalie Dahlene, who was the 7th best in the preliminary stage. Then Celeste Mordenti, who was the top, rather the 3rd top in qualification. Then Matthews, who was the top qualifier. And Nicole Stoimenova of Bulgaria, who was the 8th best in preliminary competition. And it's going to be exciting to see what Matthews can produce. She was the Pan American champion on the uneven bars in Colombia in 2023. Saw the representation there of the Luxembourg delegation, coaching staff along with Celeste Mordenti. Luxembourg has just recently very successfully hosted the European Championships of Acrobatic Gymnastics. Very pretty part of the world, Luxembourg. The capital city itself is uniquely situated across 2 different levels. It's very striking. Congratulations to Amalie Dallene of Norway. First time competing in a World Cup final. The 19-year-old is from the beautiful city of Oslo, and she has been very recently the national champion on vault. That was last year. She has also been the uneven bars champion back in 2023, nearly. That was unfortunate. That can happen. And I think we must remind ourselves what a big moment it is for any gymnast when they make it into a World Cup final for the first time. Oh, that was a lovely Jaeger somersault. She's got a bit of power, hasn't she? Swings with authority. Really nice to watch. Unfortunate that she had an issue in that transition from low to high at the start of the routine, but well done to her for coming back onto the apparatus and attacking with such conviction that lovely straddle Jaeger. She sets up beautifully for it as well. The position going into it is very assured. Bail as well was performed nicely. Came to a very good vertical position. She's steady as a rock in that landing. Right that she enjoys this moment, celebrates this moment. Qualification for a World Cup final. And hopefully we'll see more of it. Very much in the early stages of her senior career. She won a silver medal at the Bulgarian Cup a couple of months ago. Definite medal contender coming up here. Still leading, it's Ruby Stacey, 13.033. 10.733 for Amalie Dallene. That is a drop of about 1.25 marks from the qualifying round. Celeste Mordenti, bronze medalist on this apparatus at the Szombathely World Challenge Cup in Hungary last year. She was the 3rd best in qualification for this final. Straight into the straddle Jaeger, and that was good. Pack Salto, that had a nice sense of style to it. Maloney maybe lost the form a little bit, and then she performs the Ginger. First Ginger somersault we've seen in this final. And that's a great dismount. Oh, well done, Celeste Mordenti. I tell you what, the development is incredible. She just gets better and better. It's a very early release move. She's straight into the Jaeger and performed it very well. That pack salto is very nicely delivered. She maybe loses a touch of the form in the Maloney, but quickly builds up the swing into the Ginger. But really the high point of the whole performance was the conclusion. Double layout. Excellent. Breaking into a massive smile the second she comes into contact with the crown, because she knew. I mean, it was just crystal clear. That was brilliant. 13. Well, I never. Well, I never. Just behind Stacey, she's in the silver medal position with 2 to go.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing USA, Nola Matthews.
Now to the top qualifier, the USA's Nola Matthews. 13.3 in the preliminary round, that would put her into the gold medal position. She's been a Pan American champion on this apparatus. A Jaeger somersault, tidy. Forms the Van Loven well. There's a lot going on in this routine. How's the conclusion? Big sense of swingfulness, and her double layout very assured. The young gymnast from California, new to World Cup competition. She's competed at the DTB Pokal in Stuttgart for the last 4 years in a row with great success there. Proud acquisition of UCLA in the world of collegiate gymnastics. This is an absolute cracker of a conclusion. Very powerful. .3 was the qualification score. She needs in excess of 13.033 to go into the gold medal position. And she has done exactly as she did in qualifying. The only difference is that the execution is up by a tenth, the difficulty is down by a tenth, but she's in the gold medal position. Stacey second, Mordenti third. Nicole Stoimenova of Bulgaria, 8th best in qualifying with a score of 12 exactly. The gymnast who was a representative of the British developmental scene. She does train in Aylesbury in Buckinghamshire. Performing well here. Gets back into a good handstand position, had to adjust the feet a little. And she performs a different variation of the Jaeger somersault. Not opting for the straddle. And she dismounts very well. Lovely to see that from 17-year-old Nicole Stoimenova. Born in Blagoevgrad. Gymnast who competed at the European Championships last year. She also competed at the English and Welsh Championships this year. She has a bit of leg separation here and there, not quite fully into handstand perhaps. Again, an example of it there. But this was performed with an ever-increasing confidence. She's a gymnast whose trajectory is positive. And she really went for the dismount. Minimal adjustment coming out of the tuck position. Lots to enjoy about that from Stoimenova. Spent a lot of her time at Links Gymnastics in Aylesbury. 11.866, virtually the same as qualification. Down by just over a tenth, that's all. And that confirms Nola Matthews' gold medal. Also, very successful competition for Ruby Stacey. Second time on the podium today. And great for Celeste Mordenti to be again a medalist in World Challenge Cup competition. Classified results to come. Let's have a look back at the best of the action, wrapping up the performances of the medalists for you. The classified results in the women's uneven bars competition: bronze to Luxembourg Celeste Mordenti, silver to Ruby Stacey of Great Britain, and the gold medal won by the USA's Nola Matthews. Presentation moments away. Always lovely that moment, isn't it, when a young spectator spots the camera on them, sees themselves on the screen. We've got just one more final to come now, the men's rings competition. There's a very good chance, by the way, there'll be even more Vietnamese success.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's invite with huge applause champions on an even bar.
The award ceremony for the women's uneven bars competition.
Third place, the bronze medal, representing Luxembourg,
She's done it again for the second time in her career. Bronze medalist in a World Cup competition. Celeste Mordenti of Luxembourg doing so well. On the subject of doing so well, what a day for Ruby Stacey of Great Britain. A gold medal on vault, a silver medal on the uneven bars.
First place and gold medal, representing USA, Nola Matthews.
Welcome Nola Matthews to World Cup competition, an occasion marked with a gold medal. The young gymnast from San Jose in California with a very strong performance, winning by a few tenths.
And first place awards, President of Bulgarian Federation of Gymnastics, Vice Olympic champion, Krasnir Dunev.
Първо място награждава президента на Българската федерация гимнастика Красимир Дунев.
And we will now have the national anthem of the United States of America.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please rise up for the national anthem of USA. Ladies and gentlemen, please march out.
And there they are, the medalists in the women's uneven bars competition. Taking the time to preserve the moment and immortalise it in photographic form. We've got one more event to bring you, the men's rings final, and it's right now. The finalist in the men's rings competition, top performer in qualification, Adam Asil from Turkey, 14.2, way ahead of the second best, Nguyen Van Hang Phong of Vietnam. His score was 13.65. Here come the qualifiers for the last final of the day. Good luck to them all as we await the official introductions for the men's still rings final. The gymnasts have concluded their presentation to the officials who will proctor the competition. Congratulations to all of the judges on their selection for an FIG World Challenge Cup event. It's a prestigious occasion for them as well as for these athletes. And we look forward to an entertaining still rings final. Now, the lay of the land is quite interesting here because of the vastness of margin between qualifier 1 and qualifier 2. There is qualifier 2, Nguyen Van Hang Phong of Vietnam, 13.65. We'll then see third in the final, Adam Asil, who with a score of 14.2 was overwhelmingly the best performer. Now, that said, it could all change because there wasn't a great deal between the top qualifiers in difficulty. There was quite a lot in execution. In between Nguyen and Asil will be this young gentleman, Louis Ilsung Melander, the Swede who has been the junior champion of Europe on the Apparatus and the European Youth Olympic Festival champion. He certainly could be a medalist, even though he was the 7th best in qualification. It feels quite an open final. If Adam Asil doesn't manage to match the sort of level he set in qualifying, it will go from being quite open to extremely open. But if he performs, as we know he can perform on this apparatus, and we just remind ourselves that he's very much in the early stages of building towards the next Olympiad, But if he can do what he did in qualification, then it may well be that the title is pretty signed on the dotted line after the third performance in this final. And I enjoy the speculating and the hypothesizing about it. It's fun to look at the data and see where the movers might come from and who's got the potential to fly up the standings, but of course all of it becomes harvest when you actually start the competition. It's of little concern, but it's jolly good fun to chat about during a warm-up. The ones that are always so interesting to watch for are the high difficulty, low execution qualifiers, the likes of Ruby Stacey from the previous final, the uneven bars final, because they're the ones who can make a mockery of the rankings in the preliminary stage. Sometimes you get people who've qualified very high, but they've done it with a comparatively low difficulty score and a very strong execution score. For them it can often be, can't it, harder to maintain that because there was so much precision in their qualification performance. But there are others coming along who've got greater degree of difficulty to play with. He will get us underway on what has been an exciting day for Vietnamese gymnastics. Some of the Vietnamese squad found things difficult at the last Southeast Asian Games. I alluded to that earlier in the pommel horse final, but not this chap. He won the rings title. The overall team took gold as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Vietnam, Hogben.
Representing Vietnam, Nguyen Van Hang Phong. Second best in qualification with 13.65. Privileged to have the reigning Southeast Asian Games champion on the rings here. He's also a youth Olympian. He looked really rather tidy in qualification. Goes up into a nice planche position. Good looking Maltese that as well. Back up into the planche with a momentary readjustment, very slight midsection bend. Handstand is crisp. Again, he just has to raise the body up a fraction. Very small in terms of losses of execution tenths. Handstand once more is nicely accomplished. It was a controlled display from Nguyen Van Hang Phong. Certainly looked as though he wasn't having any issues holding his strength elements. He's obviously got some upper body issues because there's a lot of taping around the bicep and the glenohumeral joint. That's that brief bend in the midsection that I was mentioning. It is very tiny. He's been the silver medalist on the rings at the last two Asian Championships. Yet to win a World Cup medal. But lots of continental and regional success. It would be lovely for this youngster from Ho Chi Minh City if he could do that here to add to his collection. 13.566. He's very much in with a chance. Very much with that display. Really well done. Here is an up-and-coming young athlete.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Sweden, Louis Ilsung Melander,
the 20-year-old from Sweden. His 9th time in a World Cup competition. He's finished 5th on the rings twice. He was the 7th best qualifier here. His execution has room to grow. Difficulty is competitive. 7 times he's been a national champion. Lots of other accomplishments on the continental and regional stage. Oh, he had a bit of an issue there, hitting that planche position. Handstand is good. Good shoulder line in the iron cross. Nice looking Jonasson skill. He did attack that dismount, got a lot of height, but unfortunately the clarity of landing not there for Melander, who last year won the Eva Hedberg Scholarship for Artistic Sports, shared with the Jennifer Williams. Other gymnasts have won it in previous years, such as Alva Svenbeck, well-known Swedish rhythmic gymnast who's competed at the highest level. This is a young man who has very much made this apparatus his own. From quite an early age, he was the European Youth Olympic Festival champion on the rings, junior European champion on the rings in 2022. He was very proud of being the first Swedish rings gold medalist at that level in 26 years, as he should be. Incredible accomplishment. Particularly nice form in his Jonasson. 12.2. So he is down by quite a way from the preliminary stage, close to a full mark. Now to the gymnast who is certainly the favourite for the title here. Adam Asil of Turkey, top performer in qualifying with a score of 14.2. He looked excellent in the preliminary stage, 9 exactly for execution. The world champion from Liverpool in 2022. Oh, that's a beautiful move up into the planche. Effortless looking. And the Maltese, delightful. Steady as a rock, that handstand. This looks lovely. It's the upwards move into the planche that is almost gravity defying. He makes it look very routine. Well, yes, that ought to do the trick. Tidy, tidy, tidy from Adam Asil of Turkey. Bronze medalist on rings at the last European Championships. Well, let's look back at this performance. Very nice Maltese position. just geometrically excellent throughout. Shoulder presentation good. Handstands in the right place. And went for something a touch on the simpler side on the dismount. But again, one might expect that at this stage. Smart to be thinking long term. 14.1 is his score. Same difficulty as qualification. He's just lost 1/10 of execution, that's all, but he goes into the gold medal position.
Representing Germany, Niels Dunkel.
Niels Dunkel of Germany. 4th in qualifying, 13.35. Not one of the higher difficulty performers in the preliminary stage. So it will all come down to clarity of performance. And it is quite clear and clean at the moment. That was a nice move up into the handstand. Smooth looking Jonasson back up into the handstand as he concludes his routine and concludes it quite well. The 28-year-old who has now competed at the Olympic Games twice. He's another gymnast who's quite new to the resumption of his season. He was 5th on floor and pommel horse at the Cairo World Cup, having resumed his international campaign at the DTB Pokal in Stuttgart earlier in the spring. Niels Dunkel, 13.133. It's a little drop from qualification. He's currently in the bronze medal position at the halfway stage. So that takes us to the last 4 gymnasts of this day of competition. Zach Perillo of Australia, Lin Guanyi of Chinese Taipei, Sebastian Spunovic of Norway, and Daniel Villafanier of Argentina. We've already seen the top 2 qualifiers. We've also seen the 4th best qualifier. We have got Lin to come, who was the 3rd best. We might want to be watching carefully here someone like Perillo as to whether he can move up the standings. He's got the difficulty to do it, as has Villafanier. It'll be lovely to conclude this final with a very experienced athlete in Daniel Villafanier, who is the reigning South American champion on the rings. Very passionate gymnast. He adores this sport.
Walk this over, good luck.
Representing Australia, Zachary Perillo.
Zach Perillo of Australia, the 29-year-old who's been a national championship medalist on the rings, 6th best in qualification, and already an international medalist on this apparatus at the World Challenge Cup in 2023. Good Maltese. That's lovely. First gymnast to use the inverted cross. Handstand needs some stabilisation, but he has stabilised it. Jonasson to handstand with some adjustment. He's got a bit of movement to the rings to deal with, and to actually produce that quality of dismount, considering the way the rings were moving around, was phenomenal. Oh, lovely from Zach Perillo. He's such an interesting gentleman. He's done a lot of things like cliff diving and skydiving, so he's perfectly comfortable with the height of the rings. Nothing to him. Made a comeback after years away from the sport. That was in 2021. He's on the board of Gymnastics Victoria. Took up that post last year. Planted that landing very well. Now, he won a bronze medal on the rings as the 7th best in qualification at that World Challenge Cup event that he attended in Tel Aviv in 2023. So he's somebody who's able to deliver in a final. Just a great example of determination, of choosing to walk away and then to come back on his terms, not losing his long-term love for the sport. He's actually said that he's learned in the time since coming back just to have more fun with it, to enjoy and celebrate gymnastics, to celebrate overseas competitions, to revel in this experience. 12.933, drop of a few tenths from qualifying, little execution deductions here and there.
Representing Chinese Taipei, Guanyi Lin.
Lin Guanyi of Chinese Taipei. 3rd best in qualifying, 13.45. The gymnast who is a graduate of the Taipei University of Education. He has competed at the prestigious World University Games. He's hugely accomplished on this apparatus. Does flicker the handstand. Dismount, good. Very good performance from Lin Guanyi. He's won 2 silver medals in World Challenge Cup competition before. One in Mersin in Turkey in 2022 and one last year in Szombathely in Hungary. Well performed iron cross. Nice, tidy pike position for that Jonasson as he goes into his handstand. Did have a slight overarch of the back there, but he stabilised it neatly. 13.45 in the preliminary stage. Anything in excess of 13.133 would put him onto the podium with 2 to go. 13.333. So he is in the bronze medal position. It is Asil, then Nguyen, then Lin. Now we have the Norwegian Sebastian Spunevik. Little discussion going on. Discussion over. .20-year-old Sebastian Spunevik next to go. 8th best in qualifying, 12.95 his score. 7 times a Nordic champion. He has been a medalist in this building. 1 bronze on vault at the Varna World Challenge Cup of 2023. Just gets through the Maltese and the Iron Cross. That looked more confident. Trying to open up the hands to show extra strength. She's up into handstand, showing some control. It's a little overarch, but very well stabilised. That's a lovely dismount. Well done, young Sebastian Spunevik. Really attacked the dismount with powerful rotations in the tuck position. This was a routine that seemed to grow in stature as it went on, became more composed looking on the apparatus. And it concluded with real style. That second Iron Cross looked tidier than the first one. And the conclusion, very enjoyable to watch. Just 1 gymnast to come. The score needs to be above 13 1/3 to make it onto the podium. 12 1/2 for Spunevik. Difficulty not huge, 4.7. Qualified with the lowest difficulty of anyone, but well performed. We conclude with Daniel Villafañe of Argentina, the 5th best in qualification with 13.35. This is the reigning champion of South America on the rings. He's 31, from the wonderful city of Buenos Aires that hosted the Youth Olympic Games in 2018. Inverted cross, performed well. A little lack of geometry to the planche position, but the handstand is good. Maltese, very sharp. Great shoulder presentation. His handstands are very exact, and his dismount was nice too. Daniel Villafañe tried his absolute best to get to the Olympic Games through the rings route. Did make the final of the Cairo World Cup. And he has been a medalist in World Challenge Cup competition on the rings in Hungary in 2023. He posted a picture of himself last year upon winning another medal, and he captioned it, "May the fire never go out." Well, in his early 30s, it shows no sign of diminishing. Is he going to be able to get into contention? Daniel Viafanye scored 13.35 in qualification, 13.333. That's the same score as Lin Guanyi of Chinese Taipei, and we're just going to wait for the confirmation of the classified results. It will come down to the execution tie-break between those gentlemen. So, classification impending. Asil is the champion, we know that. And we know that Nguyen of Vietnam has secured the silver medal. It looks as though Daniel Viafanye has made it onto the podium. Well, that would be an amazing result for the experienced Argentinian, for the oldest gymnast in the final. And we'll bring you the presentation in just a few moments. A look back at how the medals were decided in the rings competition. The classified results in the rings competition, and indeed Daniel Viafanye of Argentina has managed to take the bronze medal on the execution tiebreak over Lin Guanyi of Chinese Taipei. The silver medal won by Nguyen Van Hang Phong of Vietnam, and gold to Adam Asil of Turkey. Presentation coming along in just a moment or two. Do stay with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's invite with huge applause champions on steel rings.
The victory ceremony for the men's steel rings competition at the Varna World Challenge Cup.
Third place and bronze medal, representing Argentina, Daniel Villafane.
Huge congratulations to 31-year-old Daniel Villafane of Argentina, the winner of the bronze medal.
Second place and silver medal, representing Vietnam, Varna.
What a day for the Vietnamese squad. A gold medal and a silver medal, the latter coming courtesy of Nguyen Van Hang Phong.
And first place and gold medal, representing Turkey,
Adam Asil of Turkey, the winner of the gold medal. He was always likely to be the top gymnast in the rings final, such as his pedigree, but he produced a very compelling display to take the title.
Second place award, FIG Technical Delegate Steve Butcher. And first place award, President of Local Organizing Committee, Olympic medalist and world champion, Jordan Joseph.
Well, there is a gentleman who is utterly worthy to be presenting these medals, such as his pedigree on the apparatus. And now the national anthem of Turkey.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise up for the national anthem of Turkey. Huge applause for the champions and march out.
The medalists in the men's steel rings competition at the Varna World Challenge Cup. And as the medalists depart, so do we for today. That brings to a close our coverage of the first set of finals, with 5 more medal events to come at the same time tomorrow. Hope you're looking forward to all of the action from Varna as we once again take to the field of play to determine Apparatus World Challenge Cup champions. Much more still to come, but for now, from the Palace of Culture and Sport on the Black Sea coast, it's goodbye.
Vice campione della Prescott, nasce olimpijska finalistka Valentina Georgieva, naše finalistki na bronzke medalja u 20 i finalistka da je na svenskom usporednim gostiju. Очакваме ви утре от 3 часа световното време. Събрани се от цял свят и нашите сънародници. Ели гледаме Даниел Трифонов и Йордан Александров, които ще завоюват и защитават черните позиции на прескока мъже и силка. Нека се съберете и подкрепим. Желая ви лето, успешни и изпълнени с позитивни емоции и ден.